friends, neighbors, and of course, the YouTube comment section. What's happening? Oh, hold on. I should do this so you can see me. Hey, friends, neighbors, and of course, the YouTube comment section. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Merry, I don't know, solstice-related holidays. Hello. So, this is the day after Christmas, and your boy is here. Messy Desk Productions is in full effect. Actually, Ben and I are in the middle of absolutely scrambling to get, we have like 9 trade show cases that need to get done, where we have a trade show in Charlotte on the second Saturday in January. So he and I are absolutely just scrambling to get this done because thank God LM has been really busy in 2025 and the integration department has been really busy. So the two of us have, like, if you've noticed, there hasn't been a lot of build content because we just don't have time to film it. So here I am, Christmas Day 2, The Reckoning. Anyway, today I have something that is going to light the comment section on fire. I just can't give you guys enough disclaimers. The amount of hatred that is going to come, I think this is going to be my finest work yet. We are working on a new step-down transformer rack that is specifically designed for international touring. We are calling it the C11 power conversion unit. And basically the idea is we have as big of a single-phase transformer that we can get that'll step down 220 European volts or 240, and it'll step it down to 120 volts. So the way that we've basically figured this out to do is we have a 6-base rack. I had a custom transformer wound which weighs 80 pounds, which is this big. The rack panels are designed to hide the transformer. And basically what it does is it takes single-phase European 220 to 240 volt power and steps it down. And you can draw about 18 amps off of it, which is what it's designed for. So if you're taking American equipment to Europe on tour and you need to plug it in, this is just a little rack that goes into a Pelican case with a variety of connectors to get you into various European outlet types. And yeah, it'll just convert basically anything that you need. Little office setup, you have a guitar amp, that kind of thing. The only thing that it doesn't do is convert the frequency from 60 hertz or from 50 hertz to 60 hertz. I tried to do this and I could not find an easy way to do it, and I think that we should probably be okay. All of the research that I did says that 50 hertz should probably be okay. If you guys know anything that is a dedicated frequency converter that we can get, let me know. So I should also say disclaimer upon a disclaimer upon a disclaimer. Here we go. Are you ready? The stuff that I build for LM on my channel is the prototype version. Oftentimes it changes. And oftentimes the things that you guys recommend are good suggestions. My favorite are the ones that are just like, this guy's not an electrician. I'm not. I am in no way, shape, or form an electrician. I do not claim to be. If you're watching these videos for electrical advice, stop. These are purely entertainment videos. The other thing is, oftentimes we simplify the design. Sometimes they start very, very overly complicated, and they go down in designs. As an example, I built our very first L2130 distro on the channel, and I had bus bars and all kinds of stuff like that, and we don't use that anymore. It was just patient zero, proof of concept. A lot of this stuff I build on my channel to just figure out how long it takes so that I can figure out how to charge for it. A lot of the times that's really what it's designed for, is just figuring out how much the stuff will cost under normal production. We get our bill of materials together. I just turn the camera on because the $8.50 a month I make from the YouTube revenue is nice. And I also love the comments for some of you who are nice. The other ones, I got thick skin, man. You guys can write anything you want. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But that being said, my God, are the haters going to come out for this? It's going to be insane. You can't run 50 hertz, Billy. You're going to blow everybody's stuff up. But see, look, it says this unit does not convert power frequency. 120 volts, 50 hertz, 120 volts, 50 hertz. So anyway, this is the back panel. I try to name everything. If you notice, LM products all have some type of branding name. It starts to get a little lame. are a little hard for us internally to know what this stuff is. So for example, this 52373 number that's down here, this is the internal part number for this panel. The other panel says 52372. Again, that's our own inventory control number. So when it shows up on a bill of materials, the bill of materials will say 52373, and then we have part numbers for the Edisons and the true ones and all that other kind of stuff. That's more of inventory control. But if you tell me you want a C11 panel, C for conversion, 1 being single phase and 1 being the first single phase conversion box that we're making, we know what it is. So again, pardon the messy desk. Ben is in the middle of building distros for all of this stuff, and I just basically went like this. So Messy Desk Productions, y'all. That's my joke. Anytime the desk is really messy, I call it Messy Desk Productions. As those of you who have smashed that like and subscribe already know. Look, trash. That goes away. All right, so this is the front. So this is the idea. We are using a True 1 inlet. The True 1 inlet will feed this master breaker, and it will show you voltage and amperage of what you're pulling from your European source. On the other side, it will show you the voltage and amperage that you're pulling on the other side of the transformer. So this is in, this is out. The input side is here so that you can see 240 volts, 120 volts. You can make sure that everything is stepped down correctly before you do it. And then amps to amps. These are just cheapo Amazon D-Rock meters that we use. Here's the funny thing. Once you start to get into like laboratory grade meters, these are like 16 bucks, you know, it starts to get real expensive really quick. And oftentimes this stuff doesn't really need to be laboratory grade precise. Ooh, this is the drinking game. This is the first thing that the comment section is going to hate. Anyway, these seem to be fine. We use them for everything. We've never had a complaint on it, but they have volts and amps. Yeah, I don't know that you really care, but it is kind of cool from a pure transformer winding experiment to see what your amps in and amps out are. So that's useful. On the front here, we're going to use my favorite little duplex, my little Leviton 5633 that has a USB-A and a USB-C on it. I finally have a USB-C phone after many, many, many moons. So I don't know that we're ready to go full USB-C on everything. So having A and B is nice. And then the other thing is there's a lot of like format converters and stuff like that that still are on USB-A. So this is the front panel. The back panel is designed to have a variety of outlets. So these are regular Edisons, as I'm sure you can tell. These are true ones, and these are PowerCons. These are the gray PowerCons. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to provide True 1 and PowerCon. LM uses a blend of True 1 and PowerCon. I like I like True 1, I prefer True 1. There's a male, there's a female. It's a 240 volt rated connector. So if you are in Europe and you're using this sort of infrastructure, we've been changing everything that we can over to True 1, just because it provides you with a rated connector that you can use worldwide, which is very nice. The only bad thing about that is, here, let me move this panel out of the way. The only bad thing about True 1 is it is not a 15/16 D-punch. This is 1 1/8". So if you notice, this is a regular D-punch. This is 1 1/8" True 1 punch. It's just slightly bigger. And they do that so that the cables can interconnect. There's a male. This is the input. The female is the input. The male is the output. The reason why the prongs are exposed in this one, and when you go in, it makes the connection. Boom, bada bing. You have a power baby. So it has to be bigger by nature. There is a PowerCon little joiner thing. They have a little metal box that has a blue PowerCon on one end, a gray one on the other end, but it's, it's kind of a pain in the butt. You have to have that thing to make the extension cord. So we do like True 1. The only problem is when you start stacking these up on a 2U panel, it's too tall, or the way that the aluminum radius is on these, because this is an 1/8" aluminum panel. The radius on the brake here on this back flange is it just is too much to accommodate those connectors stacked. So I have a new panel, which I'm gonna build shortly thereafter this, which I think you guys would be cool. So it's to solve that problem. But anyway, I like to provide both. We have certain cases that are PowerCon. We have certain cases that are True 1. You may have PowerCon and True One, so I like to put the connectors on everything. All right, so as an example here, this is what I moved off the desk that Ben was building. Look how neat Benny Boy's work is. Isn't he just, he's a mensch, man. So this is a new 1430 distro that we're building. This is called the D23. Again, if you see my nomenclature here, D for distro, 2 for 2 phases, 3, this is the third model in the 2-phase series, C11, see, there you go. Makes sense. So we have a PowerCon and a True One. So this is a gray PowerCon, this is a True One, just so we have both. And that way these things work as an adapter. So if you forget your cable or anything like that, you have an adapter piece, you know, it's like, oh man, if only we had a True One. Wait, there's one on the back of the distro. The show is saved. So anyway, at least that's the way I think about it. So I'm going to get this panel basically populated and wired. I don't know that that's really interesting footage, but I'll film a little bit of that process, and then once this is wired, I'll show you the transformer, which I think you guys are going to think is pretty cool. Because again, who else is going to get custom mod transformers other than your boy? Me. I love crazy stuff like that. The crazier and the more esoteric, the better. Anyway, see you in a minute. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is get a basic layout here. So one of the reasons why 2U distros are actually a little bit more expensive than the 3U distros, so if you're looking at lmcasesonline.com and you're like, why is there not that much of a difference in certain distros? When you take a 2U chassis, you have to snap these tabs off, which is a horrifically labor-intensive process that we do with a set of linemen. So we basically score these and break them off, and then what's holding it in is just this center 6/32 screw. So, excuse me, when you have a bigger panel like this, it's easy because you can take this beautiful Hubble 5362 outlet, the heaviest of the dutiest of the heavy, and you can just stick it in there, just like that. So what I like to do is sort of get a layout of everything. So, you know, we'll back mount these connectors because you guys yell at me when I don't do that. Which the reason why I don't is we had a problem with Gen 1 versus Gen 2 PowerCons. When they revved that connector, this recess right here wasn't deep enough. And because our panels are an inch or an eighth of an inch thick versus the 16th of an inch thick that other people use, some people had problems getting Gen 1 PowerCons in. They would hit the screws. So that's the only reason why we front mount these connectors, just so that they're backwards compatible with whatever PowerCon you have. I agree with you, comment section. It's not the best look, but that's why we do it. So anyway, if we do this, that's pretty good. So with this, what we'll do is, because this is all the same phase and same circuit, these can all be wired together. So on each one of these Edisons, we have 4 neutrals and 4 hots that we can use as mults. So even when we build distros, that's the way we do it. The grounds start to get a little bit unwieldy. So, you know, in this instance, we'll probably use a Wago. Like, I like to... like what I'll do is make little loops so that there's a ring terminal on a piece of 10 gauge. Yes, I know it's only 20 amps, but I still use 10 gauge and everything on the back end of things. And we'll make little service loops to jump all of these together. And then really what we're going to need is we'll have 1, 2 grounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. So we'll have 12 total grounds. So really what we'll do is we'll probably just divide this up so that this is a ground and this is a ground. The hots are like that too. So I'm going to start getting some wires prepped. Okay, so I have everything cut and prepped. So we have blue, red, green, and white. So blue and red are going to be each of my hots. So even though we're not doing multiple phases, I still am going to use 2 different colors, so that when we service this thing, we can see if and when there's a fault on one side. It just helps keep things a little bit easier. Green is ground, white is neutral. So what I'm going to do first is prep all of my True One and PowerCon connectors. So I do get the ones, well, I mean, this is the only way you can really get it, but they do have these little disconnect fins. All right, comment section, here we go. I don't like to use disconnects on this. I always worry that they can come undone. If this was a static application where this thing wasn't getting flipped end over end or flown on a plane or any of that other kind of stuff, we would be fine. But again, this is all touring stuff. It is going to get used and abused and beat. So, you know, the soldering codes with electrical are you can solder. The reason why they stopped soldering is that inspectors couldn't verify the connections. It's really difficult to see a cold connection if you're just looking at wires. Oftentimes what can look like a good solder joint is a cold solder joint. I assure you that I know how to solder and everything is good. We've had soldered True 1 and PowerCon connectors on the road for 15 years for LM integration, which 97% of them have all been soldered by me. So, you know, not to worry. Anyway, let's get this thing soldered. So the way that I like to do this is, on my glasses, the way that I like to do this is we will use our quad hands, helping hands, the best helping hands ever. We will take a catapult stripper set to 12 gauge. We will dip the wire in flux. And this is how you don't get a cold solder joint. You dip this in flux, and I use quad rosin solder. So we take that, we'll put a little dab of flux on here. Man, my flux is dry. This is quad core rosin solder also. Put this here, give that a little melt. Give this a melt. Come up here, do this. I should probably make a soldering video. I feel like for as much soldering as I do, I've never just done a straight up how-to for novice solderers. If you guys want that, just let me know. So there's a bead of solder on the iron. There's a bead of solder on the wire. There's a pool of solder on the connector fin. So what we'll do is we'll take this, we'll melt the bead, so that when it drips down onto the blade, it sticks. And then we go like that. Actually, it's scooched forward a little bit. Of course, the one that I'm going to do on camera. That like that. And then once the solder goes cloudy, it's on its way to cooling down. So we haven't even let this solder properly cool yet. And again, like, come on. Like, really? You guys are going to fight with me about that? Oh, it's for a crimp connector, blah, 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 blah. It's like, this won't come undone. And it won't, you know, the only thing that you can say about solder is I can feel Ben over my shoulder giving me a well, actually. The only thing that can happen when solder is if you go from a very, very, very cold environment to a very, very hot environment, or vice versa, the expansion and contraction is what can actually desolder something. I have not personally seen it. Ben gave me a pretty solid well actually on that. So, oh, here's another trick. If your solder's hard, because this is new, you can just stick your iron in there and melt it and soften it up and make a little pool. And then it is also, oh, so satisfying to like do this in order, so that there's like, you know, it takes us, even at LM, for as much as we solder here, it does take us like a couple years to go through solder. Let's stick that, or through flux rather, I'm sorry. Trying to get out of here and go home. We have a friend's party this evening. I know, it's like a social event. Who would have thought? People like to hang out with their friends and family on the holidays. Not I. I weld, or I solder and make YouTube comments, or make YouTube videos for you guys. That's where I'm at. Alright, so we've got our pool. Look at this guy. Got these new bifocals. I'm not quite used to them. Specifically for soldering. That's how committed I am to you guys. So we will rinse and repeat this a few more times. Alrighty, so we've got everything, well, I should say we have all of our devices, let's use electrical terms, wired up. I did make these little jumper cables off camera here. This is a 12 gauge to a 10 gauge spade connector that is going to go in. So to just loop our grounds together for that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the true ones on the PowerCons loaded. Once that's done, I can start to mult them into the Edisons here, and then anything that doesn't fit in these we can make little splices, and then we'll get this panel essentially wired so that there's two hot tails left and right that will then sum together to the input side or the output side of the transformer, and then we'll go from there. So again, I'm going to spare you with the boring stuff. I'm going to get this stuff loaded and catch you in a sec. All right, so that took about 45 minutes for whatever the seconds of speed editing that I have elapsed. So there is basically everything. You know, this is nothing here is high voltage, if you can remember. I'm sorry, I'm trying to thwart your comments before they begin, although I know that it's going to be a Christmas miracle if that doesn't happen. So the main neutral and the main, so this is all 12 gauge wire here. The main neutral and the main hot are 10. So if you noticed on the Edisons, the 10, so because these are 12s right here, the secondary bank is alone for 10, just to make sure that there isn't, you know, the little plates that aren't going like that. So yes, we are using Wagos. I know a lot of you absolutely hate these, but what we do is we do zip tie them before they go into the connector, and then once they're in, we heat shrink it so that the levers can't accidentally come open. I hate wire nuts with a passion of 1,000 hot burning suns. As a matter of fact, we have we had an electrical short here earlier in the week, which took one of our CNC pumps down all day. Those things run at 480. They're 480 Delta motors with 60 amps a leg, and when it came from the factory, there were two connections in a wire nut that were arcing, and over time it just heated up too much and melted the wire nut and went in a big arc flash of 480. So I had to rewire that thing earlier in the week, so which further cements my hatred of wire nuts. So, and that's in a static application that's just here in our shop. So anyway, I'm gonna get the other half of this wired, and I will check back in once that is done. All right, so I got this side wired up, which came out way neater than this side. Again, like I mentioned earlier in these videos, this is my prototype. Once I have this stuff done, I take pictures of it, and you know, Ben and I will go over a build procedure for the following ones. The thing that I did screw up with is I should have cut myself a new ground so that it would be long. You know, I don't want to have a Wago into a Wago into a Wago, which I know I kind of have going on here with the grounds. But anyway, this is what the panel looks like. I think this looks pretty nice. You know, like the good kind that you'd buy at the store. So anyway, I'm going to get the front panel wired up, and then I think we can see if I can move. I'm kind of worried. I don't know that my table is strong enough to hold the transformer with all this crap on it. So I may have to build that off-site, because that thing is 80 pounds, and it's, you know, this big. So anyway, let's take a look at the front panel. Okay, so here is our front panel. I've got to throw some heat shrink on this guy. I did wire this one with 10 gauge wire. Not that it really matters, but on the same token, this is going to be pulling the most, so I figured we might as well have at least some safety factor in here. So what I am going to do is I've got to get the breaker wired in. So essentially this is going to run from the True 1 inlet to the line side of the breaker. The load side of the breaker is going to go to the transformer. The transformer is going to go transformer is going to go to the line side of the transformer, and then the load side of the transformer is going to go to all the devices. So what we really have to do is plan strategically for our little ferrite choke. We are going to put this in and on the line side of the breaker, just so we can see what the incoming amp draw is and voltage, which will be 240, and then the load side will hit this. So this will hit everything post the load side of the breaker. I'm sure. Sorry, it is. I'm exhausted and rushing through this stuff because I have a party to get to tonight. So I'm just gonna stop talking and get some devices loaded up here, and I'll check back in. All right, we got this thing wired up. Check it out. It's a real panel. Here's the back end. Make sure I'm not gonna scratch anything. So this is the ferrite ring for the 240 volt line side. The way that this is wired is we've got our main True 1 inlet. This is all done with 10 gauge wire. I've got the neutral for the meter and the hot for the meter into the line input side of the box. We've got, so this will go to the 0 volt side, the negative side of the transformer. This is going to go to the 240 volt side of the transformer. This ferrite ring will go in here someplace. I got to figure out how to attach that. I suppose I should probably do that right at the breaker. I did solder this together. I'd put two little extensions on here. What else? So, here is the load side. This will be the 120 volt load side meter. So I just wired it directly into the outlet that's down here. I'm post Billy and editing. I'm hoping that your keyframe, in stopping to look at the gigantic mess that is the table. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because this is all going to be wired to the load side of the breaker, the transformer rather. This is the 120 volt side. So this is my hot and neutral. These are spliced here. I used these long 6/32 screws with a back nut on it. And I just have a zip tie because for whatever reason we're out of 6/32 standoffs, which would have looked really nice. I got to poke Ben. I've been ordering stuff like crazy. That boy, Benny, you're on. You got to carry more inventory, brother. So anyway, that is this. So this. Oh, and I did have I wired in a little extension cable here for the ferrite choke on the other side because it's going to be on the opposing side of the transformer. So. What I am going to do now is, let me grab the rack, and I'll show you what we're up to with that, and then I'm going to see if I can go grab the transformer and maybe do it on this table. I don't know that I want to. It seems pretty heavy. So anyway, stand by. All right, so here is the rack. This is what Ben's working on right now. Check it out. This is this case that charges helmets. So in the sports world, they have these communication things now called coach-to-player systems. So this thing has a Sonos bar in it and a TV and all kinds of crap. So if you want to check out LM's channel, you can see a more poorly shot and edited videos by yours truly on there. Our channel is LM Cases 1985 if you want to see that stuff. I'm sure there'll be a video on this thing eventually. It's another case that we're taking to the trade show. So anyway, this is the rack. This is a 6-space rack, and the unique thing about this particular thing is it is 3/4 inch Baltic. I was worried that if we made it at a 1/2 inch that it might be a little bit too flimsy since we're having those transformers sit right in the center. To get it up out of the Pelican case, we do have 2 deep recessed handles to move it around, which, looking at that, actually it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to make the rest of our cases have that as well. It seems kind of stupid that we don't have that at this point. But anyway, the engineering department did add transformer mount holes in here, so all I have to do is get it in there. Ben brought up the idea that we should have something on the top here to just touch the top of the transformer to keep it so that all the weight wasn't on the bottom, because it's so small and so heavy. It is just astonishing to me how much that thing weighs. that he wanted to have something on the top, so if it got flipped upside down or something like that, there's something. So what we have here is this is a piece of 3/4 inch Baltic, and this is a piece of 4-pound PE, which is different PE than what you're used to. And then these are just the mount holes that they should have filled, but hey, that's just between us girls. So anyway, I'm going to get the transformer mounted if I have some time, which I don't know that I am. Like I said, I have a party that I got to go to, but maybe, nah, I'm going to go. I'll catch you guys. I'll catch you guys when we're back in the office so Ben and I can wrestle this thing together. So I've got a little bit more time. I was feeling my pocket vibrating when I was doing that last video. So check it out. Here's the transformer. Here's what this thing looks like. So hilariously enough, this is brand new. This is a custom transformer that we had wound for us. It looks like it's 1,000 years old. I don't really know what this orange sort of film is on here, but this is what each side looks like. So this is 240 volts, 0 volts. That's the hot and the neutral. Ugh. And then this is the output side, 120 volts, 0 volts. So shout out to Pacific Transformer. These guys did, they helped me out for this very, very weird thing that I'm up to. So anyway, I'm going to wrestle this thing into the rack, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so this is what I've come up with. This is a completely OSHA-approved method for getting this thing on here. So I've got the forklift set up with the rack right here, and here's my logic. If it's on the floor, I don't have any lift, or I don't have any leverage, because again, I just can't underestimate how heavy this thing is, or I can't explain enough how heavy this thing is. So I figured right about here is going to be a good ergonomic thing. And then the problem is, if I did it on the floor, I couldn't I couldn't put the bolts in. So I moved the forks in so that I had access to it. So here, for your entertainment, I'm going to leave the camera running while my completely weak, out of shape butt tries to do this. So here you go. You're welcome. These are the things that I do for you guys. Look at that. That's precision right there. All right, so check this out. Look at that. That's what we're up to with those. God, hang on. Maybe I have to go in the bathroom and pee a little blood there for a second. Good Lord, I'm out of shape. But this is what we're up to with the transformer. You can see even the just moving it around, we have these little feet. Those little feet are bent. But this is what we're up to with the foam block here. Give the engineering boys credit. That is a perfect fit. So I'm going to bolt this thing in, and then we'll get the panels loaded. All right, my completely OSHA-approved method worked. This is great. I actually needed to raise and lower the forks a few times, so here we go. We are in. So let's get these panels in. I want to turn this thing on and see if it blows up. All right, so we've moved from the forklift to a flight case, which actually is working out quite well. It's really nice when you work at a case company because you have a variety of things to put things on. So here's the 120 volt side. Here is the 240 volt side. So everything is wired. All I need to do is just wire the ferrite choke in on the 120 volt side. And I only just need to do that because I just did this extension, but I just need to solder it in. But I mean, the rest of this needs sort of neatened up and everything, but I'm just running on borrowed time here. Gina called me and she's like, hey, we're late, let's go. So I just want to turn this thing on before we leave. So I'm going to grab my my converter and see if we can get power to this thing and see if it blows up or it works. Well, check this out. We are on. Who put that cart there? Moment of truth. We are stepping up 120 volts to 220 volts, and we are stepping it back down. So this is what the final product looks like. I think this thing's pretty slick. we have essentially just made a more expensive and less technically savvy version of the Chinese box that I have on top here. So here's how we're plugging this in. The voltage converter is plugged into the wall. Now we have a set of cables that we make here at LM called the World Power Conversion Kit. So basically it gives you a couple of things. So like this is an L connector used in Italy and in some parts of Chile. These are Schuko E and F. I am using a G connector because the Schuko connectors did not stay in there very well. And this just goes to PowerCon. And this just goes to the front of the case. So, I mean, I am curious to put a multimeter on this and see what the frequency is, because I mean, obviously it's going to be 60 hertz here, but I'm dying to play with this. I mean, I got this done just in the nick of time, but I mean, I feel like as far as a product goes, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's a very expensive, heavy way to do it, but it comes with the kit, and I just think this thing is going to be really cool. So again, I have a lot of beta work to do on this, or I have a lot of testing to do when I get back in on Monday from the holiday break. Ben and I are going to have to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, but I would say that this is a success. So the baiting portion of this is, if you're not following LM, check us out. We're LM Cases 1985 on YouTube, or if you just type in LM Cases, you'll find us. When this product is released, there will be a real video that is very similar to this one. It just doesn't show you how it's built. It'll go over more of the features and everything like that. But this one, I just wanted to focus on the build. I mean, again, this is a prototype that we have to take to a trade show in a week and a half, and well, I'm just getting it done now. So anyway, again, thank you for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.